Good morning, children. So yesterday class we discussed about the autotrophic nutrition and the process of photosynthesis, and we also learned different types of experiments which prove the role of materials which involves in the process of photosynthesis. Today in this class we are going to another topic, that is heterotrophic nutrition. In the beginning of the class only I discussed about heterotrophic nutrition. What is meant by heterotrophic nutrition? Heterotrophic nutrition is nothing but the organisms which depends on other organisms, the organisms which depends on different organisms for their food, they are called autotrophs, and such type of nutrition is called heterotrophic nutrition. So how many types of heterotrophic nutrition are there? There are three types. What are they? First one is saprophytic, based upon the dependence of their other organisms for their food, saprophytic nutrition. Next one is parasitic nutrition. Third one is holozoic nutrition. These are the three types of heterotrophic nutrition. So means which depends on other organisms for their food based upon their different mode of availability of food. For example, first we will discuss about saprophytic nutrition. Sapro means rotten. Sapro means rotten. Means the organisms which depends on other organisms are nothing but which already digested food. The food which is taken by the organisms, that is already digested food. That type of nutrition is called saprophytic nutrition. So example of organisms which exhibit saprophytic nutrition, they are like fungi, mushrooms, and like rhizopus. These are the few examples which exhibit saprophytic nutrition. Next one is parasitic nutrition. Parasite means what? Which the organisms which depends on other organisms which live in that organisms without killing them. They live in our body, but they won't kill us. They won't kill us. Like example, small round worms will be present in our small intestine. Whatever the food particles we taken by our mouth, they enters into our stomach. Later they enters into our intestine. That nutrients will be taken by the roundworms and they will live in the small intestine, but they won't cause any harm to us. That such type of nutrition is called parasitic nutrition. Nothing but the organisms which depends on other organisms or which live in the other organisms for food without killing them, they are called parasites. Such type of nutrition is called parasitic nutrition. Example of parasitic nutrition like Plasmodium vivax. Plasmodium vivax. This is a parasite which live in a female Culex mosquito saliva and takes the food from the mosquito and shelter from the mosquito. And like roundworms. In some plants also exhibit this parasitic nutrition. That plant is called Cuscuta. That plant is called Cuscuta. And next, last and final type of heterotrophic nutrition was holozoic nutrition. Holozoic nutrition is nothing but the solid food which is taken by the mouth, digested by our digestive system and absorbed into our body, and the remaining waste material will be eliminated outside the body through the process called defecation. So all these process will be takes place in the Holozoic nutrition. So in the 5 steps involved in the Holozoic nutrition, the first step is ingestion, taking food into the mouth. Next one is digestion. Next step is absorption. Next step is assimilation. Finally, digestion. So these are the 5 steps involved in the Holozoic nutrition. Nothing but ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation and digestion. Later on we'll discuss. First we discuss about how the digestion process takes place in a unicellular organisms called amoeba and paramecium. Now we discuss how the process of digestion takes place in unicellular organism called amoeba. Amoeba is a unicellular organism. Although it is unicellular organism, it performs all the functions which was performed by the multicellular organisms. Now we are discussing how the digestion process will be takes place in amoeba. Amoeba is having a regular shape or irregular shape? Irregular shape. Why? Because it is a single cell animal, so that it is not having a definite shape. Then how it will perform the digestion? Whenever it wants to move or whenever it wants to take the food, it provides a false feet called pseudopodia. In your 8th class you learned about this pseudopodia. A false feet. Whenever it wants to move or whenever it wants to take the food, it provides extensions from its outer surface of the body that are called pseudopodia. Pseudo means false, podia means feet. So it extends its false feet whenever it wants to move or whenever it wants to take the food. First, how it shows the digestion process means it provides the pseudopodia towards the food particle, and around the food particle it form a food vacuole. After forming the food vacuole, the food will be ingested into taken inside to the body by the process called ingestion. And whenever the food enters into the amoeba's body, the jelly-like substance which is present in its body, what is it called? Cytoplasm. The cytoplasm absorbs that food particle and distribute all over the body, and whatever the remaining waste material again sent back by same process how it takes the food into the body. Like that the process of digestion takes place by the amoeba. Now we discuss another unicellular organism called paramecium. Paramecium is how the structure of the paramecium. Amoeba is not having any structure, but paramecium looks like a slipper. So like that it looks. The paramecium is covered by a hair-like projection outside the body. These are called cilia. Hair-like projections. These are called cilia. With this help of these hair particles, it will collect the food from the outside. With the help of what? Cilia. And paramecium consisting of a specific spot called cystostome. What is that specific spot? That is called cystostome. with the help of the cystosome only, the food will be, whatever the food collected by the cilia will taken into the body. Thus, how like this the paramecium exhibits the digestion process. Now we are going to discuss a main topic in the nutrition chapter, that is human digestion. Now we are going to discuss human digestion. First we discuss what is meant by digestion. Digestion is nothing but breakdown of large complex molecules into simple molecules. So what is meant by digestion? Breakdown of large complex molecules into simple molecules is called digestion. So where the digestion process will occur in our body? The digestion process occur in alimentary canal. The digestion process occurs in where? Alimentary canal. Where we can find this alimentary canal? Alimentary canal is a long tube-like structure. Which starts from mouth and ends with the anus. So where the digestion process will be takes place? In alimentary canal. So it is a long tube-like structure where it starts from mouth and ends with anus. So in the human digestion, we are going to learn step by step how the digestion process will be takes place and what are the parts involved in the human digestion and what are the parts are present in the alimentary canal we are going to learn. So I already told that digestion starts from mouth. In mouth, what are the parts involved in the process of digestion? Where there are three types. One is teeth, next one is tongue, and another parts are called salivary glands. How many types of parts involved in the process of digestion in the mouth? There are three types. What are they? Teeth, tongue, salivary glands. From the mouth, it extends into a tube called pharynx. From the mouth, it extends into a tube, common passage called pharynx. The air will be entering and the food will be entering. After some time of the extension, it was differentiated. The pharynx was differentiated. So, this differentiated tube, this is called esophagus. O is silent. Esophagus. Esophagus, in the esophagus only food will pass. So, esophagus is called food pipe. Esophagus is called food pipe. And what about the air? The air enters into the another tube called trachea. So later we'll discuss about the trachea. First we'll discuss about the esophagus. Only in the esophagus food will be passed. So that esophagus is called food pipe. And esophagus continues as a tube-like structure, and here one gate will be present, a gate-like structure or a wall-like structure present, that is called a sphincter, named cardiac sphincter. Name cardiac sphincter, like a gate. So from the cardiac sphincter, it turns into a sac-like structure, a J-shaped structure called stomach. To the right side of the stomach, it consisting of a leaf-like structure called pancreas. So, at the end of the stomach, it continues as a tube-like structure and at the end of the end of the stomach another sphincter will be present, that is called pyloric sphincter. That sphincter at the beginning of the stomach, one sphincter is there, that is called cardiac sphincter. At the end of the stomach another sphincter will be present, that is called pyloric sphincter, and it continues as a tube like structure. This is called duodenum. This is called duodenum. To the duodenum, towards right side a leaf like structure is there, that is called pancreas, and towards right side a structure was attached, this is called liver. Liver is called largest organ in a human body. Largest organ in the human body. And a ball-like structure attached to the liver, that is called gallbladder. A ball-like structure which attached to the liver is called gallbladder. And duodenum continues as a coiled tube-like structure. Coiled tube-like structure. This is called small intestine. This is called small intestine. These small intestine attached a large tube-like structure called large intestine. And here a balloon-like sac-like structure you can observe, that is called rectum. And a last opening is there, that is called anus. So these are the parts involved in the process of digestion. Now how the process of digestion will be takes place, we'll learn. Okay, I already told that digestion takes place in the mouth. Whatever the food which is taken by our mouth will be masticated into fine particles with the help of a teeth. We are having different types of teeth. What are they? Incisors, canines, molars and premolars. So these are the different types of teeth present in our mouth. So incisors are meant for cutting of the food, canines are meant for the tearing of the food, and molars and premolars are helps the food for grinding and chewing of the food. So then what is the role of the tongue? The tongue helps the food which is present in the corners of mouth and pushes into the pharynx. That is the role of the tongue. And what is the role of salivary glands? Salivary glands helps in secreting salivary amylase. Salivary glands helps in secreting different types of enzymes, that is called salivary amylase. That is called salivary amylase. What is the role of salivary amylase? The role of salivary amylase is to digest the carbohydrates, break down the carbohydrates into simple sugars. Break down the carbohydrates into simple sugars. So that is the role of salivary glands. And what is the salivary gland which secretes the salivary amylase? Ptyalin. Ptyalin is a type of a salivary gland which secretes an enzyme called salivary amylase. Ptyalin is another name for salivary amylase. But what is the gland which secretes the salivary amylase? Parotid gland. Parotid gland. This is the gland which present in our mouth. It is a type of a salivary gland which secretes an enzyme called salivary amylase. What is the role of salivary amylase? It breaks down the carbohydrates into simple sugars. So the food which is digested, carbohydrate digested, the food which is present in our mouth, it is having a special name called bolus. That it is having a special name called bolus. And that bolus enters into a common passage for food and air called pharynx. Okay, and when bolus enters into the esophagus, how the movement of food will be takes place? The movement of food will be takes place by like a wave like movement in the esophagus. Why the wave like movement in the esophagus will be takes place means suddenly the food should not be go into the stomach. It will cause us severe problems, so that the food will slowly go into our stomach. The slow motion entering into our stomach is done by wave like motion. How this wave like motion will be takes place means the muscles which are present in the esophagus, they helps in a contraction relaxation. When the muscles contract, the food will comes closer. When relax, they will enters. Like that the food enters into the stomach. It is having a, this movement is called peristaltic movement. It is very important in 2 marks question. Peristaltic movement. What is meant by peristaltic movement? Nothing but the food which moves in the esophagus by wave like motions with the help of a muscles present in the esophagus. What are the muscles called? They are called longitudinal and circular muscles. Longitudinal and circular muscles. So whenever the food, the bolus enters into the cardiac sphincter, immediately the cardiac sphincter will get opens. When the cardiac sphincter opens, it enters into stomach. And whenever the food enters into the stomach, immediately the sphincter will get closed. Why it has to stop? That means reverse flow of food, it causes damage, so that the reverse flow of food will be stopped by this sphincter. And coming to stomach, stomach secretes a gastric juice. Stomach secretes a gastric juice which consisting of HCl and pepsin and mucus. Okay, so what is the role of HCl? HCl useful for activating enzymes. HCl is useful for activating enzymes and also kills the harmful bacteria. HCl activates the enzymes and also kills the harmful bacteria. So what is the role of pepsin then? Here in the mouth, carbohydrates will be digested. And what about proteins and fats? Here in the stomach, with the help of an enzyme called pepsin, the proteins are digested and converts into small peptides. That is the role of pepsin. And what is the role of mucus? Mucus is a membrane like, a wall like structure which protects the stomach layers. Sometimes you feel whenever you won't eat, your stomach will send the signals to your brain. Some sounds will be coming, and after the few days also, if you are not eating means, the mucus layer will be eaten by the acid and leads to ulcers, formation of ulcers. So don't skip your breakfast, lunch and dinner. And from the stomach, the food, here 50% of the food was digested. Here from the carbohydrates in the stomach, proteins were digested. Means 50% of the food was digested. So that partially digested food or the 50% digested food is called chyme. The partially digested food in the stomach is called chyme. Here the food in the mouth is called bolus. Here the food in the stomach is called chyme. So the chyme, after the protein digestion, enters into duodenum by the opening of the sphincter called pyloric sphincter. Whenever the chyme enters into the duodenum, the liver secretes a juice called bile juice. Liver secretes called bile juice. Here stomach secretes called what? Gastric juice, and it consisting of pepsin as an enzyme. But here liver secretes bile juice, but it is not having any enzymes, but it plays a direct role on the food. So bile juice was stored in the gallbladder, when the chyme or the partially digested food enters into the duodenum, it absorbs the fat molecules which are present in our food, and it identified that fat molecules and releases bile juice into the food. Whenever the bile juice enters into our food, whatever the fat molecules present in our food, that will be breakdowns into a fatty acids. Like that, the fats are digested. And what is the role of this pancreas? Pancreas is called it as a mixed gland. Pancreas, it is called it as a mixed gland. Why it is called it as a mixed gland means it acts both. How it will be acting? As a exocrine and endocrine. What is meant by exocrine and endocrine? Exocrine means they are called duct glands. Endocrine means ductless glands. Exocrine means they will store some part of the whatever the requirement for our body, they will store, and whenever they are required, they will release. But coming to endocrine, whenever they are required, directly they will be released. That is the role of endocrine. That is the difference between endocrine and exocrine. So endocrine mainly acts on hormones. Mainly acts on hormones. Exocrine means they will stored in particular space in the pancreas, and they will release whenever they are required. So what are the enzymes released by the pancreas? They are amylase, trypsin, and lipase. These are the three types of enzymes released by the pancreas. So pancreas releases pancreatic juice. That pancreatic juice consisting of three types of enzymes. What are they? Amylase, lipase, and trypsin. Up to liver, carbohydrates, proteins, fats were digested. Only how much? Only somewhat 60 to 70% were digested. But nearly with the help of a pancreatic juice, amylase again acts on carbohydrates, lipase again acts on fat molecules, trypsin again acts on protein molecules, so that nearly 90% of the digestion will be takes place with the help of a pancreatic juice. And again, whatever the molecules digested up to pancreas will be enters into a long coiled tube-like structure that is called small intestine. In small intestine, if you see, so it is a tube-like structure like this. Yes, this is small intestine. Small intestine also releases an intestinal juice called succus entericus. Succus entericus. It is called intestinal juice. It is called intestinal juice. With the help of this succus entericus, remaining whatever the 5% of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats were remained after the completion of pancreas and liver and all this, the remaining portion will be digested here. And in the small intestine, on the walls of the small intestine, it consisting of some finger-like projections like this. These finger-like projections are called microvilli. Microvilli. So what is the role of these microvilli? Microvilli are finger-like projection. These finger-like projection consisting of blood vessels and also lymph vessels. So whatever the particles, food particles completely digested, that digested food was absorbed through these finger-like projections, and with the help of a blood vessel and lymph vessel, the particles which are absorbed into the body will be distributed all over the body. So, and remaining waste material was sent to the large intestine. Remaining waste material was sent to the large intestine. Large intestine, again in the large intestine, reabsorption will be takes place. Actual absorption will be takes place in small intestine, whatever the nutrients and all over this. But what is meant by reabsorption? large intestine, water will be reabsorbed. In large intestine, water will be reabsorbed. And water will be reabsorbed, whatever the bile juice I said, it is secreted by the liver consisting of some bile pigment. They are yellow in color. So these yellow color pigment mixed with the waste material which is present in the large intestine. So after reabsorption, this waste material will be sent to the rectum, stored in the rectum and sent outside through the anus. So that whenever our fecal matter looks like a yellow color, why? Because means the bile juice which is secreted by the liver consisting of bile pigments, that bile pigment is called yellow color, that will mix up with the food molecules, nothing but waste material, and reabsorption will be takes place, means water will be reabsorbed, so that our fecal matter will be dry and yellow in color. This is the total process of digestion. Now we are going to discuss diseases due to malnutrition. We know that food is the main source to maintain biological process in a perfect manner. Our diet should be balanced, one which contains proper amount of carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, mineral salts and fats. Two-thirds of our world population is affected by food-related diseases. Some of them are suffering from consuming high caloric food. Most of them are facing various diseases due to lack down of balanced diet. It is very important to discuss about food deficiency diseases called malnutrition. Eating a food that does not have a one or more than one nutrients is required about is known as malnutrition. Due to malnutrition, poor health with full starvation, lack of awareness of nutritional habits. Then what are the reasons for the malnutrition? Poor health, willful starvation, lack of awareness of nutritional habits, socio-economical factors are all the reasons for the malnutrition in our country. Malnutrition of three types. They are calorie malnutrition, protein malnutrition, protein calorie malnutrition. First we'll discuss about protein. Harmful effects of malnutrition in children are kwashiorkor disease, that is occurred due to the protein deficiency. Next one is marasmus disease, occurred due to both protein and calorie deficiency. Next one is obesity. It occurs due to high amount of overeating and having excess of calories. First we'll discuss about kwashiorkor disease. This is due to protein deficiency in diet. What are the symptoms? Body parts become swollen due to the accumulation of water in the intercellular spaces. Very poor muscle development, swollen legs, fluffy face, difficult to eat, diarrhea. Pale hair. Next one is marasmus. Marasmus is due to deficiency of both proteins and calories, occurs when there is an immediate second pregnancy or repeated childbirths. So what are the symptoms? Lean and weak, less developed muscles, dry skin, swelling in joints of limbs, diarrhea, Next disease, obesity. It is due to overeating and excess of calories intake. It is a very big health hazard. Obese children, it leads to target of many diseases like diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, renal and gallbladder problems. So that we have to avoid all junk foods and other food habits which leads to obesity. Balanced diet is required for the avoid all these diseases, which consisting of all nutrients, carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins and minerals. Discuss about vitamin deficiency diseases. Vitamins are organic substances. They are micronutrients required in small quantities. Actually, vitamins are not synthesized in the body. We do not generally suffer from vitamin deficiency. The source of vitamins to our body is through two ways. One is diet and another is bacteria present in intestine that synthesis and supplies vitamins to the body. Vitamins are classified into two groups. One is water soluble vitamins and other is fat soluble vitamins. Let us study the following chart showing vitamins available sources and deficiency diseases. Water solubles are non B complex and vitamin C. Fat soluble vitamins are A, vitamin D, vitamin E and vitamin K. These are fat soluble vitamins. First we'll discuss B complex vitamins. B complex vitamins are helpful for energy releasing, hematopoietic and others. Energy releasing are thiamine called B1, riboflavin B2, niacin B3, biotin B7, pantothenic acid B5, hematopoietic folic acid, cyanocobalamin B12 and others pyridoxine B6. Hematopoietic means which increases the hematine group in our blood, which helps to not to get anemia. Next, we are going to learn about vitamin A called retinol. Retinol is a scientific name for vitamin A. It helps in proper vision development and development of healthy skin, hair and nails. So vitamin A we can find in leafy vegetables, carrots, tomato, pumpkin, papaya, mango, meat, fish, egg, liver, milk, cod liver oil, shark liver oil. These are the resources which we can find in the find vitamin A. What are the deficiency diseases which occur? They are night blindness, xerophthalmia, cornea failure and scaly skin. Next, we'll discuss about vitamin D. Vitamin D is also called sunshine vitamin. The scientific name of vitamin D is called calciferol. What is the role of the vitamin D? Calcium absorption and builds maintains strong bones and teeth. We can find in liver, egg, butter, cod liver oil, shark liver oil and even morning sun rays. So what are the deficiency diseases? Rickets. So symptoms of the vitamin D deficiency: improper formation of bones, knock knees, swollen wrist, delayed dentition and weak bones. Next, we are going to discuss about vitamin E, also called tocopherol, and it is also called anti-sterility vitamins. It helps in maintaining muscles and immune system. Resources: fruits, vegetables, sprouts, meat, egg, and sunflower. Deficiency: disease, fertility disorders. Symptoms: sterility in males and abortions in females. Sterility in the sense they are not capable of producing the young ones. Vitamin K is called phylloquinone, helps in synthesis of blood clotting proteins and regulating blood calcium. We can find in green leafy vegetables and milk. So deficiency diseases are blood clotting disorders. Symptoms: delay in blood clotting, overbleeding. Vitamin B1 is also called thiamine, maintains proper brain and nerve function, developing healthy muscles and heart. Where we can find in vitamin B1, like cereals, oils, seeds, vegetables, meat, fish, eggs. So what are the deficiency diseases due to vitamin B1? Beriberi. Symptoms: vomiting, fits, loss of appetite, difficulty in breathing, and paralysis. Next, vitamin B2. B2 is also called riboflavin. It supports normal vision, growth, and maintain healthy skin, hair, and nails. We can find it in milk, eggs, liver, kidney, green leafy vegetables. Deficiency diseases are glossitis. Symptoms: mouth cracks at corners, red and sore tongue, photophobia, scaly skin. Next, vitamin B3. B3 is also called niacin. It supports brain, blood circulation, and healthy skin. We can find in kidney, liver, meat, egg, fish, and oil seeds. Deficiency diseases are pellagra, and symptoms: dermatitis, diarrhea, loss of memory, scaly skin. Next one is pyridoxine. B6, pyridoxine. Vitamin B5, pantothenic acid, helps in metabolizing proteins, carbohydrates, fats, and helps in hormone production. Ginger and curcumin, groundnuts, green leafy vegetable, like that we can find. Deficiency diseases are burning feet. Symptoms: walking problems, sprain. Next, vitamin B6, called pyridoxine. It plays a prominent role in the proper brain and nerve function, synthesis of RBC. Pyridoxine is present in cereals, oils, seeds, vegetables, milk, meat, fish, eggs, liver. Deficiency diseases is anemia, and symptoms: hyperirritability, nausea, vomiting, and fits. Next, vitamin B7. B7 is called biotin. It helps in maintaining healthy metabolism, help in breakdown of fats. We can found pulses, nuts, vegetables, liver, milk, and kidney. Deficiency disorders was nervous disorders. Symptoms are fatigue, mental depression, and muscle pain. Next, vitamin B9. B9 is also called folic acid. We can find in liver, meat, eggs, milk, fruits, cereals, and leafy vegetables. Deficiency disease was anemia, and it also plays a vital role for the baby development. Symptoms: diarrhea, loss of leukocytes, intestinal mucus problems. Next one is vitamin B12, called cyanocobalamin, maintains proper brain and nerve function to make RBC, DNA, RNA, myelin for nerve fibers. It is synthesized by bacteria present in the intestine. Deficiency diseases like pernicious anemia, and symptoms like lean and weak and less appetite in the sense hunger. Next, last and final, Ascorbic acid, vitamin C, helps to repair RBC and provides immunity in fighting with infections, fastens up the healing process and make the gum healthier. It found in green leafy vegetables, citrus fruits like lemon, orange, and sprouts. Deficiency diseases was scurvy. Symptoms: delay in healing of wounds, fracture of bones. So it is very important to take all the vitamins to maintain good health.